Good morning, everyone. I expect that we'll continue to have people join us, but we're going to get rolling this morning. Welcome to not a webinar today, but a meeting. So as Tanisha said, it looks a little bit different than it typically does. I'm Noreen Scott-Garrity. I'm Associate Director for Education at Rutgers-Camden Center for the Arts, and also a member of ArtPride's Jersey Arts Marketers Leadership Team. Closed captioning is available. I want to remind everybody by
Did I just lose it?
Oh, sorry. I was muted. How much of that was I muted for? I don't know what happened there. Excuse me. Let me start over again. I'm Noreen Scott-Garrity, Associate Director for Education at Rutgers-Camden Center for the Arts and a member of ArtPride's Jersey Arts Marketers Leadership Team. Welcome this morning. I want to remind everybody that closed captioning is available by clicking below on your screen. My self-description, I'm a white woman with platinum-colored, naturally curly hair and wearing a Naples yellow light sweater with puff sleeves and an iridescent necklace and earrings. Sorry, I'm a painter, so I got to get the paint color in there. I'm coming to you today from my office at the Rutgers-Camden campus in Camden, New Jersey, the ancestral homeland of the Lenni Lenape people. Rutgers acknowledges that the land on which we stand is the ancestral territory of the Lenape people. We pay respect to Indigenous people throughout the Lenape diaspora, past, present, and future, and honor those who have been historically and systematically disenfranchised. We also acknowledge that Rutgers University, like New Jersey and the United States as a nation, was founded upon the exclusions and erasures of Indigenous peoples. So, time for the quick overview of the webinar, what we'll be covering today. We will be welcoming, and we're so excited to have today, Brandon Szeker from Brand On Communications in just a moment. And he'll be discussing with us how in an ever-evolving media landscape, how tough it is for brands to stand out. Brandon will share some key strategies that will help position your nonprofit to break through the noise. Brandon Szeker is a publicist and the CEO of Brand On Communications. He has worked with CBS Radio, Entercom, Beasley Broadcast Group, Philly Weekly as the media booker for the Democratic National Convention and a surrogate liaison for the Democratic Party. We'll close out this meeting with a report from ArtPride Marketing and Communications Manager Tanisha Ford on how the last seasonal campaign performed. Now, just a few housekeeping items before we get started. As I mentioned, closed captioning is available by clicking below on your screen. If you have any questions, please drop them into the chat below, and you can drop those in as they come to you. We'll address them with our speaker either at the end of the presentation or at the end of each section of the presentation. And also keep an eye on the chat for any links or other resources that we may be sharing as the meeting goes along. We're recording today's webinar, and we will share the video along with the slide deck. If you want to go back and reference anything or share this with any colleagues that might not have been able to make it to the meeting today. And also, for best viewing purposes today, set your screen to speaker view. For us today. And now I'm very pleased to introduce Brandon Szeker.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Noreen. My name is Brandon Szeker, and I am the CEO of Brand On Communications. My self-description is I'm a middle-aged Caucasian male with black hair, beard, and I am wearing a black t-shirt. I'm coming to you today from my office in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the ancestral land of the Lenni Lenape tribe. And we are here today, and we're going to talk about PR, not ER. It's not as overwhelming as it can seem. So, we're going to learn how to work with what you have with your nonprofit organizations. Next slide, please. So before we even talk about what is PR, we need to figure out why we need PR for our clients and organizations. It helps build your reputation. Earned media in the press can help show consumers that your brand is the source. And by becoming the authority through positive reputation, you'll start to build trust amongst your consumers the more that they start to see you. It helps to elevate your brand. The representation that you have in the media allows you to focus on your brand and offers solutions to help build even more awareness. And probably one of the most important things about PR is that it'll help generate further leads. It helps get people interested in what you're doing through targeted strategies that are created by marketing and PR pros like us here today. Next slide, please. So there are a couple public relations tactics that we use. And I kind of break it down here by these 5. The first one being press releases. We all know press releases are a formal way of getting all the details out about a particular campaign that you're running. From there, we'll target key media. It's very much like MySpace back in the day. Get your top 8 going. You don't need to pitch every journalist that has ever existed ever. We want to pick our top 8 and focus on that. Then we have PR opportunities, which we might know as PR stunts. These are creative promotions that help further drive the messaging that you're trying to put out there. Through community involvement and strategic partnerships, you can also increase your reach, especially with affinity groups and beyond. It's always great to team up with somebody in your community that can help push your message further. And then I put this one in there. A lot of you guys have been asking me how I can use influencer marketing to help create a solid awareness campaign. I would be remiss in saying that if we, that influencer marketing is a huge part of a lot of the strategies that we use today in PR. Next slide, please. So how do we put together a successful PR strategy? And so I kind of broke it down into 6 different areas. First and foremost, we want to establish our motives. And this is probably one of the most important things. Why is your message important? Why are we doing this? Why should people care about this? If you can answer those questions, you'll be able to create messaging that pulls people in, that gets people into your world. You want to do a lot of research and development. You want to determine who your target audiences are and the messaging that you'll use, because you're not going to use the same messaging for everyone. If we blanket that information, then it doesn't give reporters any reason to write about it if another publication is writing the same exact thing. So research is also very important. Then for yourself as a PR and marketing pro, you want to set goals. You want to identify which outlets or publications you'd like to be featured in. What's low-hanging fruit? What can you grab easily? What do you know that you don't have a hard time getting into? What's the ultimate get here for you and your client? Next slide, please. So you want to choose which tactics you're going to use, the tactics that we discussed about in the last slide. You'll determine the proper channels. Are you pitching the right people? Like I said, you don't have to pitch every journalist that's ever created in a hope to get as much press. We want to be very thoughtful and meaningful in who we're sending out our pitches to. So like I said, pitching 2 targets that are super targeted is way better than pitching 15 potential targets. And then the final one is define how your success will be measured. This couldn't be more important. You want to make sure that you are on the same page with the client, that you are hitting those different points. What are some ideas to developing relationships with reporters? We'll absolutely talk about that in the upcoming slide. Can you hit next, please? So there are 4 pillars of public relations. or that I view as important pillars of public relations. They are networking, media relations, press strategies, and influencer marketing. Networking being how you can leverage every relationship you've had and making it work for yourself and your organization. Media relations, how to stand out with these journalists that get literally 1,000 pitches on any given day. Then we'll use some of our press strategies, the tips and tricks, and what's really successful or needed for a successful pitch. And influencer marketing, how jumping on this popular trend can bring success to any campaign that you're planning. Next slide, please. Networking. I can't even begin to tell you how important networking is. And we don't utilize the current networks that we have. And so I always tell people, dive into the network that you currently have. Identify 5 people in your contacts that can help you with 5 separate parts of marketing or PR. A lot of us here probably do events. So we want to make sure, obviously, we have relationships with AV and audio people, like really break down the work and look into your network. And I guarantee you that you have people already in place that can help you out. You want to find affinity networking groups and attend those meetings, much like what we're doing today. You can take a look into the New Jersey and Pennsylvania chapters of the Public Relations Society of America. And other groups like that. Oftentimes you'll find a lot of press at these events. So it's a great opportunity to introduce yourself to somebody that you're maybe following, talk a little bit about what you're doing and what your clients are doing, and if there's a particular angle that that journalist might be interested in. Networking events can be very overwhelming. There's all these people in this room. It's like the first day of school. You're like, who am I going to talk to? Don't get so bogged down by all the people in the room. Make one meaningful contact, one contact that you can walk away from saying, I need to be talking to this person, and this person needs to know what I'm doing. And then that brings us to letting people know what you're looking for. I always say you can't get what you want for Christmas if you don't sit on Santa's lap and ask him for it. Let your network know what you're working on and how they can help you. A lot of the times when we put things out, we end up getting a lot more back. So make sure that you're really utilizing the network that you already have, because every connection that you make is an important one, from all the way up to all the way down. Next slide, please. So media relations, Tanisha asked in the chat, what are some ideas to developing relationships with reporters? And a lot of it boils down to, we are the authority. As marketing and PR pros, press look to us to be factual storytellers. And in the world of fake news, it's up to us to uphold the ethics in journalism just as much as we expect our reporters to as well. Because false information can damage a marketing or PR pro and whomever they are representing. So it's very important that we are factual. We have all of the details. Then we are the storytellers. It's our responsibility to provide these producers and journalists with compelling images, sounds, and stories. You are ultimately the go-between between the client and press. We, as marketing and PR pros, we know what producers and editors want. Our clients don't know that. That's why they have us. We know what our clients do, and we know all the different angles of what our clients doing. Producers do not. So it's our responsibility to prepare our clients as much as we possibly can for any interview opportunities. And similarly, we must consistently balance both of these worlds, keeping the client happy and then keeping any members of the press happy, which is very difficult to do. Next slide, please. So now we have all this together. We have our list, our pitch list of who we want to send this out to. So now we want to implement some strategies to ensure that we're getting coverage. So first, we want to find and create a compelling angle. I always say to my clients, what you think is the story is not even close to the story. It's our job as marketing and PR pros to find the story within the story. Pull apart every single detail and categorize it. Is there an LGBTQIA plus angle? Is there a BIPOC angle? Is there an events angle? Is this relevant to a current trend that's happening in the media? You want to show how your clients fit in with the subject matter. And something that we often do, we call it news jacking. And it's when we take something that's pretty heavy in the news and try and form it to something that our client is doing. A really great example of that would be this past 2 weeks with the Eagles getting to the Super Bowl. It was, it was a scramble to try and connect certain clients with an Eagles storyline to, in order to get some press. Next thing is you want to personalize it. Don't send the same pitch out and change a few things around. It's sloppy, and trust me, journalists notice if you copy and paste a pitch. So you want to refer back to past conversations you may have had with the journalist, or maybe attach your client's brand with an interest that this journalist might have, because the more personal that you can make your pitch, the better results that you'll have. And I always like to say, go into it with a do it for them mentality, because if I do their job for them, how can they walk away from it, right? So, offer journalists great story ideas, and then follow up over the course of time to make sure that you're still on their radar. You're going to want to adjust your story angle as needed to fit what the journalist writes about. You want to make sure you are putting your best talent forward for interviews. If you provide the best images, stories, and people, you will most certainly land coverage, but you will be looked at as the authority and the storyteller. And I promise that press will keep coming back to you and asking you what the story is. Next page, please. Follow up. It's probably the most annoying part of the job, because, like I said, these journalists get onwards of up to 1,000 pitches per day. So it's very easy to fall to the wayside. Don't feel like you're annoying them by following up. I'd say within your first reaching out to them, I'd follow up about 3 days later. And then after that follow-up, I'd wait a full week. But constantly be following up, and don't just do emails. You want to focus on your digital relationship too. Most journalists are very active on social media, specifically Twitter, and happily accept DMs about story ideas. However, you want to make sure that you're following the steps that we discussed above, especially if it's somebody that you're working with who's new. You always want to put your best foot forward and give them everything that you can so that they can rely on you in the future. And then finally, keep it simple, stupid. It's an old saying. I just changed it to say, keep it short, stupid. Personal pitches should be no more than 250 words. I cannot stress this enough. You can write all the press releases in the world, but press release should not be your first line of offense. You should be keeping it short and sweet, getting the journalist on hook. Then if they respond back to you and are interested, you can move forward with sending your media kits and your formal press releases. They don't have enough time. So start to perfect your elevator pitch. And if you don't have one for anything that you're working on, highly recommend it so that you can get the information out there as quickly as possible. Next slide, please. And then the biggest one that everybody's using today, influencer marketing. There's a lot of questions and question marks surrounding this area. But the biggest thing to know is that influencers are not the first step for immediate sales. That being said, neither is PR. Influencers shine for brands when we give them a clear message, some talking points, important points that we know are important to our client that they hit, and then just let them go with it and tell our story in their clear and authentic voice. Because if it's disingenuous, like when we reach their audiences, they're going to be able to read right through that. So we want to make sure that there's a call to action involved as well, so that you can measure this on the back end. You want to make sure that you talk to your clients and your organizations about this. Influencers in and of themselves are a business. So we need to, and we've learned this as influencer marketing has grown, we need to treat them with as much care as we do the press. And so we want to make sure that, you know, when we're talking with our organizations and we're talking with our clients, that we discuss a budget for influencer marketing, because influencers are going to have different prices. So it's something that if you are going to include influencers, make sure your client has a budget and it's something that they want to do. What constitutes an influencer? That is a really great question. Anybody can buy followers today. Millions of followers. It's very easy to do. So I am from the camp of followers does not mean anything. What I look for is engagement rates. And I believe on the next slide, I bring that up. Kind of at the end. So I'm going to put a pin in that and I'm going to go to the top. Research and development with influencer marketing. Some of the best influencers are those with creative content and an understanding of basic business principles. It's very easy to learn when an influencer is doing this for fun or if they're actually doing this for business. And I find that working with the influencers that actually understand basic business principles have been the best to work with, because they understand that they are a part of a bigger picture and that they're not the picture. You want to vet these people carefully. And as Tanisha said, what constitutes an influencer? I look at impressions. If somebody has 25,000 followers, but they only have 100 likes and 2 comments, that's probably not somebody that I'm going to work with, because I don't really see their audience is engaged with them. So impressions, engagement rate, and click-throughs are the key performance indicators or KPIs that are used in most PR situations. So again, in terms of macro, micro, all those influencers, in terms of numbers of followers, that's what constitutes them. But like I said, engagement rate, you know, the standards are about 1.42% on Instagram. And this is current industry standards. Facebook is 0.19% engagement rate that we're looking for. And for Twitter, we're looking for 0.036% engagement rate. So if I see influencers are hitting those marks, then I am more likely to spend more time researching them and finding out if they are really the great fit for the client. Next slide, please. Do you have engagement rates on TikTok? So this is newly developing. Right now, it's more so the influencers on TikTok that have control of their insights. And so you can make that a part of your contract that they will, sorry, got it. Engagement rates on TikTok, yes. Want to make sure that, all right, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. We want to, you could put it in a contract and say, I want you to tell me how your stuff performs for me. Also, you know, on the back end, they're working on a way so that those engagement rates can be shared with the people that influencers are partnering up with, but nothing has really come of it yet. TikTok is an ever evolving thing. And so I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 months from now, we have an easier way to get engagement rates for TikTok. And so that was my last slide. These are, you know, pretty much the basics of creating a PR strategy. Now we want to, what we're going to do is we're going to go into breakout rooms. I'm going to give you a scenario. And in these breakout rooms, what I want you guys to do is identify and come up with a PR campaign for this particular situation I'm going to give you. using some of the tactics that we've discussed. Okay, and so now here is the scenario that I'm going to give you. So a potential new client comes to you, and it is a new art gallery that's opening in town, your town, wherever you are. And it's owned by a local woman. She has lived there her whole life. The first commissioned artwork coming in is done by a Black LGBTQ plus man who is also local. And the artwork addresses the following topics: gun violence, equality, and opioid addiction. I'm going to read that through one more time before we break out. There's a new art gallery that's opening in your town that's owned by a local woman. The first commissioned artwork that's coming into the space is done by a Black LGBTQ plus man who's local. And the artwork addresses the following: gun violence, equality, and opioid addiction. So now we want to go through and come up with a PR campaign. How are we going to promote this? What are we going to use in our toolkit to get all of this information out? That's what I want us to break out in these groups and discuss. All right, great. It sounds like we're all in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have everybody, if you can, one representative from each room, kind of share with the group here what strategies you came up with in a way to promote this event. So I'm going to start with room 1. So anybody from room 1 want to speak, or if we just want to have this be an open thing, that's fine too.
Do we know now that
I was just going to say, do we know what room we were in?
Don't know.
No.
I do.
Right. So then we're all gonna jump in on this.
Well, I think that room 4 is ready to go.
Thanks a lot, John. Oh, we chose a speaker and everything. We're ready.
Love it. Go for it.
All right. So we were 2 Jeans and 2 Johns. There's so much here. There's so many opportunities here. I said it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. We've got lots of opportunities to hyperpick or to broadside. And the other John mentioned that it would be nice to know the overall long-term mission of the gallery in order to better capitalize on how we promote the launch. But we talked about.
Can I just build on that for a second, Jean? I'm sorry.
Sure.
So yeah, the thought here is, while we believe that this is a really interesting first launch of an artist for the gallery, is that the long-term strategy of the gallery is to be mission-oriented or focused on, thematic ideas of culture and society. If it is, that's awesome, but we don't know that, right? So we don't know that that's what the predicated vision for the mission for the gallery is. Mm-hmm. So we think of it as a 2-launch idea or 2 ideas. We're launching a new gallery. It's awesome. We're in the community. We're doing the broad-based ideas of community and gallery. And then our first artist happens to be, LGBTQ, Black male, dealing with social topics, which we think is a very visual idea, right? So we need to represent in the marketing a very visual, where we need a lot of eye candy in order to draw people into it, because how do you represent opioid addiction? John, the other John in our group was like, how do you do that? How do you represent gun violence? How do you, it's very concept driven that can resonate with people, but it's got to do it visually.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people in the group. So I'll just quickly, some tactics we've talked about. We're leveraging each of these kind of micro groups in terms of their social media to have them share and segment things and focus on inviting the media and bloggers to the opening.
Great. Anybody else have anything that they want to add that their group came up with? Any other strategies that we can use to implement this?
We have time for one more strategy pitch.
Great. Who's gonna be that last person for me?
I mean, I can share some things.
Good, yay.
Hi, I'm Katrina. I don't remember what group I was in, but the other K's and Noreen, if you want to fill in anything, obviously we agree there was like an inherent like missing sort of understanding of the mission and the overall goals of the gallery owner, but just trying to pull some tactics and brainstorm and get all the ideas out. We talked about targeting local outlets for local coverage, and then also like more of national coverage. So we tried to like look at the micro and then the macro, local TV, local outlets, art blogs, and events, specifically like having a big opening and being able to invite either some sort of an influencer and also local officials that might be working on some of these issues within the community.
Amazing, that's huge, yes.
Hosting panel discussions, and these can be over, a series of time over the course of the actual exhibit. And we talked about like local panel discussions, but there's also an opportunity for like a national, if it was identified that there are other galleries in other regions that have similar mindsets, that there might be an opportunity for like a Zoom online, more larger panel discussion to bring some field-wide acknowledgement of the gallery. And then we also talked about, we didn't dive too deep into it, but like because of there's a lot of intersectionality with what's all of what you gave us, and so that's really interesting, and I think there's something there that we would want to dive into. And then there's an educational component. Is there a university nearby? Is there a way to like, really dive into the issues and partner with universities or other schools to bring in students and so on and so forth? So
amazing. Perfect. Those are really great ideas, everyone. And there's really no right or wrong answer. The world of PR is a gray area. It's all in what you make of it. But the one thing that I can't stress enough is to be extremely thoughtful in whatever it is you're doing, your pitching, your on-site presence. Those make the biggest impacts, more so than all of the glitz and glam. And even in the chat, some of these ideas are great. It is a very broad subject because there are many angles that you can take, and I really love my folks who said, well, what's the end game for this art studio, this art gallery? That in and of itself is a story. That's perfect. So great job, everyone. Thank you very much for your time today. I know that Tanisha has some other things, some housekeeping items. If you need to get in touch with me, you can follow me. I'll drop my Instagram and my email in the chat. Feel free to give a follow or shoot an email with any questions. I'm always happy to chat with other like-minded professionals because we are a small but mighty group of us, and we all need to stick together. So thank you again
so much, Brandon. I'm just going to do some quick information about how we did for our seasonal campaign for the holiday guide. It occurred to me that we oftentimes reach out to you all and say, hey, share your stuff with us so that we can put it out broadly, but then we don't tell you how it landed. So that's what I'm going to take the opportunity today to share with you about. Just opening up the proper things, because all of a sudden my cheat sheet went away. So there's my cheat sheet. Okay, so as JAM members, again, each of you have access to free marketing efforts by ArtPride New Jersey, and I want to invite you guys to continue this conversation that we're having on our JAM Facebook page. That's a great space that we can have ideation, where we can have, I have a question. I want to approach something A, B, C way help me kind of think outside the box, even if it's just DM to DM. But the Facebook group is really meant to be a space like this where we have an idea and we can really kind of percolate. You can click to the next screen. You can submit to have your events included within our curated calendar, so long as it is along the theme of our seasonal campaign. You can send your press releases to C. Stroud for consideration to be included in our featured stories. And those are podcast videos and articles. And you always can tag us on social media at #JerseyArts or @JerseyArts, and we will share your content whenever appropriate. So let's just look at how Holiday Guide performed 2022. Next slide, please. The campaign, which channeled New Jersey constituents to 80 different calendar events on the jerseyarts.com page, yielded over 1.72 million impressions and over 8,000 clicks, which is a really high return. And if you want to some details into what that means, we can always have a conversation on the Facebook Jam page, or you can email me and I'll share the email in a minute. This campaign included paid digital media advertisements through the web and app spaces, as well as paid social media ads on Facebook and Instagram. The social media ads on Facebook had the highest click-through rate at an average of 1.78%, which was really, we were all kind of shook us with those numbers. Next, please. Now, there were 12 articles written about the Holiday Guide campaign, which helped generate that traffic to our jerseyarts.com, and that was to an audience of 31.6 million people. So whether you were in our calendar, whether you were our feature, 31.6 million New Jerseyans and surrounding areas were subject to your content, your event. And that gave us an estimate of 222,000 actual views. So we were really thrilled with those numbers. Next slide, please. Organically, right? We received nearly 170,000 impressions with over 3,600 clicks. That is amazing. That is amazing. And the engagement through likes and shares was super incredible. So I encourage you to tag, because when we put these things out into social media and we set our little calendars, I do everything I can to make sure I tag your organizations so that the traffic can get to your pages. But it's really important that you make sure your websites are up to date with correct social media links, because as soon as that people are interested, the first thing they do is go to your website and they want to learn more. And if they click on something that's a dead link or an old link or just, no link, because I've clicked on some pages where I hit Facebook and it just stayed on the page. So make sure your social media links are up to date and accurate, because that helps have a deeper engagement with your audiences. I'm trying to be lickety split. It's 11 o'clock. Next slide, please. Click again. So there will be no seasonal campaign for March and April. We're going to take that time to prepare for our May programming. Click, please. And it's a surprise. We're not ready to announce it yet, but there's something big happening in May, and that's why we're taking this March and April to get ready for. I'm sorry, my brain did a pre-K pause. However, summer stages will return after May, and you want to make sure that you're in that guide. So please, if you haven't already joined the JAM Facebook group, you see I'm pushing that a lot because I'm a marketer and I'm marketing our product. And you'll be the first to know when the submissions are available. You'll gain weekly helpful hints on how to market your organizations much better. There's YouTube videos, there's podcasts that I drop on Hump Day hints. Every Wednesday at noon, we drop a little Hump Day hint to help, give you new information on how to approach your networking and development. I haven't forgot our Devo folks. And it's also a great place to network and kind of convene with other jammers. No one at this point has said we don't like the name jammers, so that is what we're now going to be called. We are now the jammers. And that, with only 2 minutes over, is the summation. If anybody has any questions, I'll give us another minute and a half. If anything I said, you have any follow-up, just, raise. Yep.
All kind of branding opportunities for jammers.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brandon. You were amazing. In the follow-up email that we send, I'll put a copy of some of the questions that we have down. I'll put all of Brandon's contact information as per usual, as well as any other helpful hints that we find. You know, the slides will be available by Friday on our website. And Brandon, you were amazing, and I thank you so much. And if there are no other questions.
Thank you so much for taking the time today. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, have a wonderful Thursday, and thank you for your time.